All right, guys, Gerry Visca, the author of the new book. It's an autobiography, and it's called Influence. And it's by far the most rockin' autobiography I've ever experienced, not just because I wrote it, but because Kim Fitzpatrick's in it. And look at her. I mean, I'm so excited about this time with Kim right now. I'm excited about these 11 women inspiring change. And that's what the energy of influence is about. It's about everyday people understanding that they can become an influencer. And I'm so excited about Kim Fitzpatrick. Her chapter brought me to tears. Like, I always fall apart when it comes to these chapters because they're so emotional. So Kim, welcome.
Thank you so much, Gerry. It's such an honor to be here.
I'm excited because Kim, your story, I call it your story is their story. And I know your story is going to touch so many lives. How can your story, Kim, inspire the influencer in all of us?
Oh, I love that question. Here's what I think, Gerry, and I want to go back to your point of my story is your story. We all have a story. And I think that's where the magic of influence comes in, is when someone can read a story, see where they fit into that story, and see where they can grow from that story. And that's when I believe the real change happens, when you realize that you don't have to stay stuck, or you don't have to stay in victim land, or you don't have to stay in the cement that we pour ourselves and implant our feet in, right? When we realize that we can make change and there is greatness inside of us. And I feel as though when something ignites a spark from something you've read, from a line, from a person, from a picture, something that inspires you, you ignite, right? Your flame sets up fire. And I think every single person has the ability to influence. Every single person has a story. They just have to learn how to tell it.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love how you've answered that, because I believe in the power of stories. The power of stories to, first of all, your story is very relatable. I mean, it's extraordinary what you've had to go through, but everybody's story is relatable. And it's why I've chosen to, I conceived influence 3 years ago. I always had this drive around, this desire around what makes someone like Kim Fitzpatrick go from corporate life to all of a sudden becoming this powerful influence, not only on her family and on herself, but on thousands of others. And it's always perplexed me, that concept. So it's another reason why I chose to feature 11 women like yourself that are really inspiring change, because it's the power of, I find autobiographies just, they take us to new levels. So I want you to share with us, what was the experience for you? It was very touching for me to take you really deep and into the learnings and into your past. What was that experience like for you?
Oh, it was hard, Gerry. It was hard. I remember reading back the transcript, and I had to close my computer like 4 times to get through the first part, because I don't know whether I loved what I was reading, but it was my life, right? Oh, because I could get emotional now, because when you grow through so much, you're prepared for your future. But we often tend to put a lid on our past and not let it still help to teach us. So when I read the first part of the transcript, which was my story, the beginning of my story, all the emotions flooded back, right? It's that emotion of maybe not feeling good enough, the self-depreciating thoughts, the not worthy, the judgment, the self-judgment. Oh my gosh, what if people read this? Right? But then I realized how much that broken girl in the beginning had blossomed into who I need to be, who I want to be, who I was born literally to be. And it was really healing. And it was really cool. And what I feel, Gerry, and what I believe is that as I read that story, and I knew it was my story, I told that story, that's my legacy. I know that my story in the beginning doesn't define me anymore. And that was freeing, to say, I'm really proud of what I went through, what I grew through, that I had to figure out who I was and how that was going to go down, but that I was able to be who I am today because of what I went through and because of how I chose to grow through it.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it was hard, but great. It's like, that's a conundrum, but it was great, but hard, but amazing.
You know what? I love the way you captured that. There's no question. This is what's cool about the energy of books like Influence, especially autobiographies like this, autobiographical books. They're very difficult, very challenging to write. You know, it's very different than just a self-help book, very linear. Because with your story, you know, I'm taking you back, forward, sideways, extracting the learnings. And that's what I love about specifically your story, because the insights and the learnings, they inspire me. They inspire my daughters. You know, like it's amazing, because it's too easy on social media. You see us all the time, you know, we're showing, hey, let's move forward. Let's move everybody forward. But we forget about where we've come from and how to, you know, use that to get us to the next level. And that's what I love about your story. So, okay, my last question is, what do you want the reader to experience with the energy of this book itself? What do you want the reader to experience?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to the women that are in this book, because that's the magic, Gerry. I think, first of all, if you can combine your talent as a writer and as an author and as this visionary, coupled with the amazing stories and strength of powerful women, I can't wait to get my hands on it, because it's just, I know that this is going to change lives. And I know that this will inspire someone, one story, a culmination of stories, the experiences, to know that people aren't alone and that we all grow through things, and that you can be successful no matter what your upbringing, no matter what your circumstance, you know, and no matter what limits you think you put on yourself, we can blast through those. And I believe that the women in this book, and I believe that the power of influence is going to inspire people to light their souls on fire, or if not, just rise like the whole fire, right? Like, find your match and rise. And I think that's what this book will have the energy to do. And I think that the women in this book have the power to do that through their words and through the way that you've told their stories.
It's wicked. It's wicked. You know, it's funny. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's just one of the 1,000 things I love about you, is that you're always edifying others. And I just think that's really, really cool. You know, one of the influencers, when she got her story, she just thought it was going to be a straight transcribing. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? She's like, I can't believe that anybody tell my story in such a poetic way.
Yeah.
I mean, tomorrow's not promised. I don't know what tomorrow promises for you or for myself or for our family. And that's why it's touching for me to know that, you know, social media, I love it, but it comes and goes. But this kind of energy, this kind of book is going to last a lifetime. So, okay, guys, listen, we're launching Influence in July, and it's just around the corner. And we're doing something called the 1111 Project. And together with Kim, this is just as much Kim's book as it is my book. I'm just the channel and the ambassador putting this together. But we want you guys to be a part of this. Kim and I are calling this a ripple of influence. And it's, imagine 11,000 new influencers, everyday people that have read Kim's chapter, they're going on. So all we're asking you guys to do is just grab a tribe of 11 people and say, hey, you know what? Let's become influencers. And then those 11 create 11, and those 11 create 11. And that's how we're going to inspire 11,000 influencers. We're launching this book also at World Fitness Expo. And Kim, you're going to be speaking at World Fitness Expo. So will I. And there's this whole energy of influence is being wrapped around that. So be a part of it. GerryVisca.com/influence. That's how you're going to read Kim Fitzpatrick's story, and that's how you're going to get blown away like I was. So, Kim, thank you so much for being the spark that you are. And you've taken my energy to whole new levels. So I love it.
I appreciate that, Gerry. Likewise. Yeah, it's such a blessing. So thank you for your work with me and our whole team, actually, our Crush It Fitness team. So thank you for being you. It's an honor.
The team is rocking, and they have a great leadership couple there, you guys. So it's awesome.
We appreciate that.